Hello everyone and welcome to EVTN News. Today I have some I have some news stories. Man, I'm not even sick anymore. I just decided to cough whenever the video started. Um okay, so we had a really busy week. Let's get right into it. So, as you'll recall, Pope Leo uh, okay. Cardinal Cupich decided to honor pro-death Senator Richard Durbin, and so Pope Leo was asked about it, and based on what he said in his interview with Crux, I thought the typical response, my expectation would be that Pope Leo would say something along the lines of like, well, it's I don't know the whole situation, so I'm not going to comment. But no, he did comment, and even though, well, he probably does know the situation because he's from Chicago, and it wasn't Catholic. His response wasn't Catholic. He said, "I'm not terribly familiar with the particular case," and then that's to be expected of what he would say. Um, but then I would expect him to stop there, but he kept going, and it was a bad decision. He said, "I think it's important to look at the overall work that a senator has done during, if I'm not mistaken, in 40 years of service in the United States Senate. I understand the difficulty and the tensions, but I think, as I myself have spoken in the past, it's important to look at many issues that are related to the teachings of the Church. While the lives of the unborn are probably a pretty high priority, so it gets worse from here." He says, "Someone who says I'm against abortion but is in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. That's false. Someone who says I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. It, that's wrong. That's just incorrect." He said, "So they are very complex issues, and I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that they would have respect for one another and that we search together both as human beings, in that case as American citizens and citizens of the state of Illinois, as well as Catholics, to say that we need to be close to all of these ethical issues and to find a way forward as a church. The church teaching on each one of those issues is very clear," but unfortunately he didn't articulate it um, because being in favor of capital punishment is not anti-life. It's actually fully in line with Catholic doctrine, not the Francis doctrines, but again, Francis. There were many things that Francis said that were not Catholic. Um, so this is I hope that people will see what I was worried about whenever Leo was elected, that he comes from Chicago. He went to seminary in Chicago in the 80s, and there was very little Catholicism in Chicago at that time period. And basically, he's into the modernism, he's into the seamless garment heresy, and it's pretty sad that he chose that time to promote it. Bernardine, Cardinal Bernardine, was very into the Marxism, and at his funeral, he requested the Rainbow Men's Chorus. He requested the Rainbow Men's Chorus to sing at his funeral. Okay, does anyone have a problem with that? And that's just kind of goes to show what Chicago has been through. And so, right after Leo said that, Cupich announced that Durbin declined the award. But once again, Cupich attempted to justify his decision to nominate Durbin for the award. There are a few things here that and Cupich he wrote a long statement justifying this, justifying his decision, so kind of doubling down. And on one hand, Cupich really could be that evil. He could be that much of a communist, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility. But the award nomination could be motivated by Durbin's efforts to secure federal funding for immigration, because Catholic Charities Chicago was a large beneficiary of that government money. And so I think it's, it could be motivated by money. Of course, it could also be motivated by um, an attempt to see what Leo's true colors were. And Leo showed his true colors. He's into modernism, he's into seamless garment heresy. And, um, Cupich just a few years ago, he gave rise to the Biden bishops, who, and maybe he was sort of doing this to prompt a reaction from Leo, just to show the United States that the Pope isn't on their side. The Pope's not on the side of United States Catholics. In fact, he's in favor of he's in favor of frankly the Democrats, it seems, and just like Francis was. So kind of a copy of Francis, at least in terms of political opinions. Kind of a copy of Francis, just not as much of a jerk. So, okay. And then Durbin told NBC News that he was surprised by the level of controversy over the award, and that he declined it because the reaction has been so controversial against the cardinal who proposed it. I see no point in going forward with that. Commenting on the Pope's defense of his award, Durbin said, "It is amazing to me. It's quite a moment. I didn't expect it. I didn't know it was going to happen." So he was grateful for Leo supporting him, which is really sad. It's really bad. And if the only good thing Leo does is free up the Latin Mass, which he hasn't done, although there are indications that he's not going to go after bishops and cardinals who are fans of the Latin Mass. But if that's the only thing he does, then I don't know. Would you be okay with that? Because that's sort of what we were faced with in the papal election. Is like, okay, this is looking really bad, but if we can at least get some pope who will at least free the Latin Mass a little bit, that would be nice. And here we are again. That's the only thing that we have a chance at this point, because the bishop appointments aren't very good, as you'll see here in a moment. Leo's not. Leo is a never Trump pope, which is probably why he was elected. Because there are a lot of, I don't even, a lot of the cardinals aren't even familiar with American politics, but they weren't going to elect an American who at least had who had even a neutral view of Trump. I mean, they had to be very negative. Had to have a very negative view of Trump if an American were to get elected. So of course Dolan had no chance. Not that he had a chance anyway, but someone like him, I mean, he's kind of friends with a lot of people, but Leo retweeted heretical news articles from National Catholic Distorter and America Magazine. Cardinal Prevost, when he was Cardinal Prevost, he retweeted those, so really bad sign of things to come, and now we've seen it. That's pretty sad. All right. The USCCB has granted an imprimatur for their new revised standard version, updated edition, Catholic edition, NRSVU, SVUE. That means the NRSVUE Catholic edition is approved for publication and permitted for private use and study by the Catholic faithful. A Protestant scripture scholar, Robert A.J. Gagnon, and this is one of the few times I'll quote them, but this is interesting work that he's done. He said that this new Bible now becomes the first major modern English committee translation of the Bible to eliminate any reference to LMNOP practice. Now this is in the footnotes, but it's a rainbow edition. of the Bible, and it's been approved by the USCCB. So, some of the bishops in the USCCB, I'm sure I'm sure that was their intent. Uh, Others may have been misled or maybe didn't look into it very much, but no excuse. Um, so there's that, and stick with the Douay Rheims. It's in the public domain, so you can find it for free online. And actually, what's the one I'm thinking of? The Channeler? No, that's the Douay Rheims. There's the one, the Haydock Commentary. That's what I'm thinking of. That's actually free online too. You can find it on a website, and you can even search by Bible verses. Back in the day, it used to be called a concordance, sort of like a Bible dictionary, where you could look up a certain word and find it where it would be. But you can just do that online now with the public domain editions, of which the Douay Rheims is one. So there you go. All right. Pope Leo is promoting the controversial Archbishop Bernard Longley, age 70, of Birmingham, England, as a member of various dicasteries of Roman Curia. For Longley, in 2007, he helped integrate the Soho Masses Pastoral Council in the Archdiocese of Westminster. This group holds special Eucharist for practicing LMNOPs. In an interview with the BBC, he justified Eucharist for practicing LMNOPs, stating that it has never been the practice of the Catholic Church to means test people before admitting them to the celebration of the Eucharist. It would be a mistake to jump to the conclusion or generalize about anyone's lifestyle or state of grace. In 2023, Monsignor Longley expressed gratitude for the insightful feedback received from the LMNOPQ Plus community during synodal processes. Furthermore, on May 10th, 2025, a LMNOP Eucharist was celebrated at St. Patrick's Church in Coventry. Archbishop Longley noted that about the Rainbow Eucharist. It is so important that everyone should feel welcome in the family of the Church within our Archdiocese. I pray that this initiative will enable us to offer appropriate accompaniment and encouragement so that the Church's teaching on holiness of life may draw all Catholics closer to Christ. So, nervous disorder. Thanks for commenting. I'll get to your comment here towards the end. Okay, and it seems like a common theme on my channel that just about every week, there is a news story about an LMNOP bishop, a new LMNOP bishop promoted or appointed by Leo, and a Latin Mass canceled. And I don't have a Mass cancellation, but I do have an update on a Mass cancellation, so I don't know if that'll suffice. And also, this is not linked in the video description like the other articles, but Bishop Martin and Charlotte, everyone's favorite, he demanded that the kneelers be removed in the cathedral for communion. So the elderly who kneel for communion will have a much more difficult time getting up. So thanks to Bishop Martin, it's going to be harder for them to stand up. So that's what I call accompaniment, right, guys? Good old Bishop Martin. Okay. The diocese. Here's an update on a Mass cancellation. So, it's a little bit different than what I report. I actually forget what I reported, but the Diocese of Brooklyn, under Bishop Robert Brennan, plans to limit the celebration of a traditional Latin Mass to 2 parishes, but he has also invited the Institute of Christ the King into the diocese to take over its celebration at one of the parishes. So that's what bishops have done in the past, so that they don't have to continue to keep requesting an extension for diocesan masses. They're just invite the Institute in, or the FSSP, although I haven't heard of any new FSSP parishes. But the Institute seems to really be expanding. I don't know how many priests they have, but it seems like they could be running out of priests just based on the number of new parishes that they've established just within the past few years. But then they get the sacraments, so that's actually a big deal, and the bishop doesn't have to worry about that. So actually, and not only that, but most diocesan Latin masses don't have daily mass, and the Institute of Christ the King does. So it's now this is Brooklyn. This is a large population center, so it's probably been a long time coming. But anyway, let's get it in the middle of nowhere areas in the regions. Let's get more of these because they become centers where people will move to. The property is generally a little bit less expensive, and who wants to live in a city? I mean, really. Anyway, people are trying to get out of cities, especially New York. But the Institute is Institute of Christ the King is not looking to get out of New York. Apparently, looking to get in. They did. A spokesperson for the Diocese of Brooklyn told LifeSite News in an email that the Mass was not suppressed, but that the diocese is moving the celebration of Latin Masses to 2 parishes. Our Lady of Peace in Brooklyn, which has offered the Latin Mass for 25 years, and St. Josephat Church in Queens, which will be taken over by the Institute. It's also worth noting that Our Lady of Peace Church is approximately a 30-minute drive from St. Cecilia, the Latin Mass that was shut down, and St. Josephat nearly an hour away. The only 2 parishes that will offer the Latin Mass are about an hour's drive from one another. Which honestly is not as bad as some other places have it. Okay. Traditional Catholic... Okay, let's go to Michigan's Catholic Conference. A traditional Catholic lawmaker in Michigan is pushing back against the state's Catholic Conference after the group announced that 2 pro-death Democrats would co-chair its official legislative caucus. The Michigan Catholic Conference had announced on a flyer that the 4 co-chairs of its newly formed legislative Catholic caucus would include 2 Republicans and 2 pro-death Democrats. So, yeah, not very Catholic, but they're very much a Leo Catholic. Okay. Pope Leo hosted... Okay, this is the big news that everyone got really excited about on Twitter. And Pope Leo hosted an eco-conference in Castel Gandolfo, which included a neo-pagan water ceremony. According to the introduction speakers, the event was directly connected to COP30, which is the 30th conference of the parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which will take place in Brazil. It is part of the broader Agenda 2030. I believe that's an eco initiative from the United Nations. Obviously, population control is a large initiative of these groups. Other speakers and entertainers were outdated or relatively unknown figures such as outdated. Okay, relatively unknown figures. Well, but this guy was not unknown. He's the I guess you can change his nickname to the Econator or the Environator. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Environator. I guess apparently he is now. Pop stars. I don't even know who these people are, but they performed songs with emotional lyrics inspired by UN slogans such as "We choose peace, OEO, OEO, peace out everybody, rise up, we're a million different colors dancing to the beat." And I also heard some really cringe music. People said, "Oh, it was Latin." Well, yeah, they just sing Laudato Si, which is Francis's environmentalist encyclical. I think it was written by an atheist, actually. Not Francis, but like I think it was written by some UN atheist, or at least like ghost written or whatever you want to say. Pope Leo. Okay, so the big story is Pope Leo blessed a block of ice, or at least no, he just held his hand up to the block of ice. I don't know what he didn't pray any prayers out loud, so who knows what happened. But attendees, including the environator, waved a blue sheet in a similar way that, like, whenever you go to a football stadium and people, like, you know how there's lots of people holding a giant American flag on the football field and they kind of wave it like up and down to give a like a ripple effect, so you know, and they did this with the blue sheet. There's just a bunch of boomers like waving a blue sheet, a large blue sheet. You got to watch the video. It's it was very strange. I guess I guess you could say. Um, yeah. So that was that, and then there were lots of gaslighting people. Twitter actually became very, what would I say? Um, what do I describe? Pretty unbearable, I guess you would say, because there were lots of Democrats that were celebrating that Leo peddled the seamless garment heresy, and then also lots of professional Catholics who were lecturing everyone that just because Leo blesses ice, and Father Mike Schmitz does a TikTok dance, that it's not cringe and people should just get over themselves. And you know, I'm really sick of the Pope splainers. Like, it's actually really pathetic. I mean, are you worshiping the Pope? Because that makes you in line with what? The Buddhists? How they worship the Buddha? Um, if you're worshiping a person, that's pretty bad. And the Pope doesn't speak doctrine. Like, just every word out of the Pope's mouth on an airplane interview isn't doctrine. It's. But then if you believe it is, then sedevacantism is the only option at that point, because clearly Francis was preaching error, and so now Leo is preaching error. So, I mean, if you're telling us that we have to that everything out of the Pope's mouth is new doctrine, I mean, first off, that's not even Catholic. That's not even what Vatican I said. But you know, that's why there's sedevacantists, is because of the Pope splainers. Probably sedevacantists because of clown masses too. But um, you know, Pope splainers create sedevacantists. So you know, get off Twitter and stop making your money. Okay, let's get to the comments. He was blessing ice. Yeah, ice, baby. You know, the block of ice. I don't know if this is true, but I did hear that it was flown in from Greenland. So what is the carbon footprint on the block of ice? I mean, really. Uh, and people, I saw someone post and said, "Oh, well, ice is just water," and then someone said, "Well, okay, then when was the last time a priest blessed a baby, or when was the last time a priest baptized a baby with ice?" But let me take it a step further. Can you baptize someone with water vapor? It's water. It's just water vapor. It's all, it's the same thing. And when it cools down, it turns to water. Anyways, so stupid. Okay. Are you going to read the exalt? I think that's the apostolic exhortation, or the encyclical or whatever, when it's released, and then do a video about it. I know you only do videos once a week, but maybe you can make an exception. Uh, okay, so I'm probably not. I'm probably just going to rely on, because I don't want to read those things. I actually want to read Catholic stuff. And this was, this apparently this apostolic exhortation was written whenever Francis was still alive. So it's basically just taking Francis's writings and maybe fine tuning a point or two. So, and they're like 300 pages long. I mean, I have so many books that I haven't read that are actually good books. I don't want to read modernist ramblings, even if it's not heretical. Like, I don't want to read that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to look for the summary from, like, LifeSite News, I think, usually does summaries. I don't know, Taylor Marshall and Tim Gordon, they used to read through that stuff. I really can't. I mean, so there's a story where I tried reading through, I think it was even just the preparatory documents for the Amazon Synod, and I didn't make it more than 2 minutes in. I couldn't. It was just unbearable. It was so bad. It was like, it wasn't even heretical. It was just boring because it was like, um, I thought it would be like a sociological study about like the indigenous tribes in the Amazon and say like, okay, we need to evangelize these guys because there's like, this amount of population and the climate is like this and just kind of analyzing it, but it wasn't. It was basically like, oh, these people are wonderful because they worship the earth and accompaniment and dialogue and synodality and like all the modernist garbage speak. I can't read this stuff. I just can't. My brain can't handle it. I can't do it. I'm just going to give you the LifeSite News summary. I really apologize to disappoint you, but I can't. The Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest is good. Yeah, they're fine. I'm not even going to read your comment. Yes, about the virus. I think I don't believe YouTube. I got one of my videos deleted for crimes against the virus religion. You can find it on Rumble, um, from very long ago. And it's not even that good of a video because it was about Father Altman. And I didn't even say anything that controversial in it, but YouTube decided to delete it. I think some revolutionary from Chairman Mao's group reported me, or one of the virus cult. They reported me for it, and YouTube deleted it. But I did have a backup. But anyway, do I have the virus? No, I was sick over a week ago, and so Monday was a little bit. This last Monday was a little bit difficult for me, but still not back to 100%, but it's okay. And of course, I have no idea if I had the virus or not, but I mean, maybe I need another. Maybe I need another jab, like Parent Ryan SJ. That's true. My diocese does have a lot to mass, but I think it's only available on Sundays. I don't think they have it on holy days of obligation. Oh, a diocesan mass. Yeah, yeah. I had a bad cough. Cough. Well, I had a cold. It wasn't that bad. Actually, I thought it was allergies at first, and then it just didn't go away, and yeah, it was tough. But I'm back in business. The news cycle doesn't stop. I'm in the football games. The last one I did was a year ago, and no, they don't do that except for the presentation. Well, I mean, on the really big games like playoff games in the NFL or Super Bowls or whatever, they have the really big flag in the middle of the field. Yeah, Taylor Marshall do videos, so, and I don't have time to read through that stuff. I mean, I want to read through, like, I have lots of good books that I haven't read. Like, good books, not like modernist garbage. So, I don't want to read through it. And it's not even going to be Pope Leo, it's going to be Francis. Like, Leo didn't write it. That's the thing. So, it's going to be about poverty. And it's like, well, it probably has a lot to do with, like, the marginalized groups, like LMNOPs and migrants and illegal immigrants and like all this stuff. So no, I don't really want to read it. I don't care. And with with Francis, I really tuned him out in the last like two years or so. I tuned him out. Like I didn't, unless he said something particularly egregious, I just ignored it. I didn't even report on it. And I think that was a good approach for me. And I'm going to do the same with Leo. Um, I'm going to do the same thing with Leo at this point. Like, I'm not going to report on anything. I'm not going to report on much that he says. I'll report on what he does, right? Like blessing ice or blessing ice or inviting the Environator to participate in eco ceremony. And I don't even know if the ceremony was heretical or not. It's not like they had a Pachamama idol there. They had a block of ice. Who cares? Like, it melted, whatever. Um, and priests can bless anything. Not that they, not that you should have a Pachamama in your church, but that was worse. That was more of a scandal. But I think it's just the idea that he's doing that is just cringe. Okay, when will Pope Francis be canonized? Well, Leo already canonized him. Not like officially, not formally. You need a miracle for that, and I don't know. I mean, you could get like a Jesuit miracle, I guess. Like, Jesuits don't believe in miracles, so I'm not speaking for all of them. I'm sure Father Fessio would dispute me on that. Father Mitch. Everyone has had miracles. Yeah, yes, but you need a Jesuit. Would they get a Jesuit miracle? It'd probably be a Democrat winning an election. That would be a Francis miracle. He'd be interceding for them. Okay, I'm gonna get a hardcover copy of the book 1984. No. Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. So Leo's had a very disappointing week. Of course, you knew that, but my stance is the Pope splainers are insufferable. Is the word. Insufferable is a very good word for them. They're just it's hard to deal with them. It's hard to believe they exist. I think I would say I would say at least some of them are. I'd say some of them are just trolls. They're trying to make money off of Twitter, and they're getting a lot of likes. So I think that's probably making them some money. Lots of comments. It's like rage bait is what it's called. So I don't know that all of them are serious, but what do you think of Michael Lofton and his threats to sue people that don't like him? So I actually promised that I'd never talk about him again on this channel until he deletes his channel. I don't follow him. I don't watch any of his videos. I don't follow any of his stuff. I just hear what other people say about him, and even then, I'm not really into that. But as you know, there are lots of grifters out there, and you can pay to pray. I'm gonna have to call it quits here because it seems like my voice is gonna need a drink pretty soon. But feel bad for the poor guy. Well, I don't really feel bad for him because he's making decent money. I mean, he found the way to make money, kind of like Michael Voris. He sort of found his place on how to make money, and he made money until he reverted back to his former life. But if for Lofton to revert back to his former life, it would be what, Orthodox, which is so who knows? Who knows? There's always a possibility, but yeah. Again, I'm not into his stuff either. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's a big man with a little beard. Who would do well to hide his tattoos. But anyway, okay. That's it. I'm done for the day. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we are the laity, and we will not be silent.